Welcome 8th graders to Lesson 9, Session 3, which starts on page 209. Yesterday for Session 2, you were given a graph. And you had to take that graph, and I'm not going to use that color, and you had to write the linear equation in slope-intercept form for that line. Today you're doing the opposite. You're being given the equation, and you are going to graph it. Remember, M is the slope, B is the y-intercept. So they're going to give you the equations this time. Our try-it problem says, a 60-gallon rain barrel is filled to capacity. Elena opens the stopper to let the water drain out to water her garden. The equation, y equals -3 plus 60, can be used to find y, which is the number of gallons left after it drains for x minutes. So however many minutes you let it drain, that's how many gallons are left, or at least it correlates. We're going to graph this equation. So one thing that we can tell, I'm going to rewrite this equation right here for you. Y equals, slope is -3 times x plus y-intercept is 60. So as you can see here, if we know the y-intercept is 60, then we know one of the points for this line is going to be, y is going to be 60, but if it's intercepting the y, then x must be 0. In order to get, so there's one point, we need to get another point. To get the other point, all you have to do is see if you can find now the x-intercept. So for the y-intercept, x is 0. So for the x-intercept, y is going to be 0. And we need to figure out what x is going to be. All we have to do in order to do this is take our equation, our linear equation, and if y is 0, we need to know what x is going to be. So let's plug it in. Okay, well, let's rewrite this. 0, y is 0 for the x-intercept. 0 equals, it's the same equation, so still -3. X, that's what we're trying to find out, plus 60. And change back to purple. 60. It's the same equation, but if we want to find the x-intercept, then y will be 0. So we need to figure out what the x-intercept will be by solving for x. Okie dokie. So now we need to remember how to solve equations. I love solving equations. Okay, we've got to get that x by itself. That's the goal. So first thing we need to do is get rid of this positive 60. In order to get rid of a positive 60, we do the opposite, -60. So now that's canceled out to 0. But the main rule of solving equations, you can do whatever you want to both sides as long as it is the same thing to both sides. So we have a -60 over here now. Okay, if I rewrite this equation, -60 now equals -3 times x. Okay, we still need to get that x by itself. It's got a -3 for its coefficient, so that means it's x times -3. It's multiplying. Remember, if we want to get rid of something, we do the opposite. So the opposite of times -3 is divided by -3. -3 divided by -3 is 1. All we have left down here is 1x. But if we divide by -3 on this side, we must divide by -3 on this side. -60 divided by -3. 60 divided by 3, I know, is 20. And a negative make a positive, so it's positive 20. So in this scenario, where y is 0, x will be 20. So now we have 2 points for our line that we can use. We have the y-intercept and we have the x-intercept. So now we've got this blank graph to work with. Let's see, I need my line tool. Where do I want to put my X and Y axis? I'm going to go with here. Nope, that's not super tidy. I'll even go with here. And here, because I'm going to need space in my positive areas, because I'm going to go up to 60 on my y-axis and 20 on my x. And I think, since these are all, we've got 60 and 20, since those are multiples of 10, I'm going to label my x and y-axis by 10. Be proper. Put the little arrows at the end of your axes to show they go on forever. You can label them or not. That's fine. Okay, these need labels though. So let's say this is, let's do 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You don't need to listen to me count, but I'm going to make you anyway. Oops, why did I write 35? See? That's what happens when I stop counting out loud. 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. And I'll go by 10s this on the other direction too, since I need to get to 20. Actually, it was by 5, so it's not 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. I don't need that many. I'm going to stop. Okay, I've got my 2 points. My y-axis is 0, 60. My y-intercept is 0, 60. And my x-axis is 20, 0. So those are my 2 points that I found. And I'm going to get out my line tool again and go from point to point. And it says in the teacher's guide, it has it going forever. Technically for this problem, I don't think you'd do that though, would you? Because the barrel can't have more than 60 gallons. That's the most it can have. It can't have less than 0 gallons. That's the least it can have. So really, technically, you don't want those arrows at the end. But I'm going to leave it because that's what the teacher's guide had. And I'm a conformist. Okay. And we've got to analyze it and a graph it. So let's see what it says here. It's got a hint for you here that says, where's my highlighter? There it is. If the slope is positive, the slant is up from left to right. So lines that have a positive slope go this way. And lines that have a negative, oops, that's not the highlighter. Lines that have a negative slope go the other way. So lines that have a negative slope will go that way. That's just a helpful hint to help you remember how to, it helps you like double check your work. To know if it has a negative slope, it's going to slope this way. If it has a positive slope, it's going to slope this way. And then our second example of how they solved it in the book is just graphing it. They just went for it. Although what they did with the slope here, the slope of -3, first they put a 1 under it, but because they're using increments of 10 instead of increments of 1, they just put zeros after it. They multiplied it by 10 to make it easier to work with on the graph. So you can do that too. Okay, let's see what it wants us to figure out about it now. Number 1, look at the graph it. Do all the points on the line make sense for this situation? Oh look, they did notice. They did notice the thing that I complained about. No, they don't. Remember what I said? Let me make this bigger. No. The barrel. Is that how you spell barrel? Yes, it is. Good for me. The barrel can't hold more than 60 gallons. Or less than 0. You can't have negative gallons in the barrel. That doesn't make sense. So really only the points in that range would make sense. Okay, number 2 has a part A, but no part B. Oh, book, you're so crazy. Look at the analyze it and graph it. Why does it make sense that the slope is negative? Why does it make sense that the y-intercept is positive? Well, why is the slope negative? What's happening to the barrel? The slope is negative because the barrel is losing water. Why is the y-intercept positive? The y-intercept is positive. Where does the y-intercept start at? 60? Because the barrel starts at 60 gallons. Because it represents how many gallons of water the barrel starts with. There you go. Number 3, have a part A and a part B. How novel. Number 3, explain why a horizontal line has a slope of 0. So that would mean, horizontal line. So this line, slope is 0. So is there going to be a rise? No, there's no rise to count. So the y value isn't going to change. Let me type that out. I should probably write this down, huh? Let me make it a little bigger. Okay. How can we phrase this in words on paper? All the y values will be the same. So the rise will be 0. And if it's rise over run, then it's 0 divided by something. So that is any, 0 divided by any number will be 0. Rise, let's do an example. I'll put an example right here. So if the rise is 0, you can put the run anywhere, because you could pick any of these points. So if the run is 6, 0 divided by 6 is still 0, so m is 0. Part B, explain why we use the term undefined to describe the slope of a vertical line. So for a vertical line now, slope equals undefined. Why? Well, okay, let's think about this. So all the x values are going to be the same now, right? It's not changing from side to side. There's no run. So all the x values will be the same. So the run will be 0. And you can't divide by 0. If you divide by 0, try it. Put it in your calculator. It'll explode. Start smoking everything. It will open a black hole in the universe. You can't divide by 0. So we just say it's undefined. So for example, say that you chose to put 6 for the rise and 0 for the run. You can't do that. You can't divide by 0. No good. Number 4. How can you use the slope and y-intercept to graph a linear equation in the form y equals mx plus b, aka slope-intercept form? Okay, well, the easiest thing to do, in my opinion, is first you plot the point for the y-intercept on the y-axis, because that's why it's called a y-intercept, because it intercepts the y-axis. Then use the slope to travel, I'm going to get fancy with my words, travel from there to a second point. Then connect the dots. Hooray! Okay, and number 5 is for you to do. Think about all the models and strategies that we have discussed today and describe what best helped you understand how to graph a linear equation in the form y equals mx plus b. Fill that out and then come back to me and we will do 3 practice problems together. Okay, you ready? You did number 5 up there? Let's do number 6. Describe, don't graph it, describe what the graph for the equation y equals 50x plus 125 would look like. Well, what was our clue up here? All the way back up in the analyze it. Positive slope. It's going to go this way. Okay. Let's see. How do we want to describe it? We have to think about how to make it comprehensible. Well, the graph is going to be a line. It will be a straight line that intercepts the y-axis at 125. The slope is positive, so it will go up to the right, like this. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Look, here's the y-axis. And this spot, oops, that's a y. This spot is 125. It's beautiful. It's a work of art. You're welcome. Number 7, graph the equations y equals -1 and x equals -1. What is the slope of each line? What is the y-intercept for each line? Okay. It didn't give us much to work with here. Let's get out our line tool and make for ourselves just a couple. Let's make the axes kind of just wherever you want. And I'll do the same, and I'll do it in the middle on this one. And I'm very, very proper, so I'm going to put the arrows at the ends of all my axes to show that they go on forever. Okay, my first line, y equals -1. Okay, I need to label this. So this is 0. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, yada yada. So this is -1, -2, -3, and it says y is -1. So I'm going to just draw a line going right through there. There's no slope. Didn't give me a slope. So there is none. I'm going to make it a blue line. There we go. So the slope, and what did we say about the slope for horizontal lines? 0. There is no slope. And the y-intercept is -1, because that's where it is. Okay, now x is -1. Let's label this really quick. 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. And make my line right through -1, because it says x is -1. I'll put my arrows to be proper. And what did it say the slope was for a horizontal line? It said it was undefined. And my y-intercept, does it intercept the y ever? They're parallel. They never intercept. There is no y-intercept. None. Getting fancy with our no slope lines. Okay, now a simple one. Let's actually just graph this equation. Graph the equation y equals -20x plus 500. Okay, it's -20x. Our slope is negative, so we know the line is going to go that way. I am going to jump straight in, and if I'm wrong, I can always back out. So I'm going to say I'm going to put my origin right about here. Put my arrows. Okay, so there's 0, 0. And my y-intercept is 500. I'm not going to make 500 tiny lines. I'm going to make each of these 100. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. So my y-intercept, it intercepts the y-axis at 500. So there's my first point. Now, let's see. This is a multiple of 10. So do I want to do it by tens? Let's do it by tens. So this is, let's do it by fives, just to be safe. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, how many did I write 25? 30. Okay, and my slope is negative 20. But I can't go down 20, because remember, it's if it's rise over run, then I'm rising negative 20, which is going down. But I can't go down 20, so I'm going to have to go down 200 and over 10. Okay, so I'm going to go down 200, so I'm at 500, 400, 300, and now I've got to go over 10. So there's 10. So there's my second point. Okay, get out my line tool. Can I get through it? Nope, I missed. I'm just gonna have to get closer. There we go. I'll stretch it out the other way. It's a little broken, but it's still good. There we go. Sometimes you have to manipulate your slope, but it helps. Just put some zeros there. It's fine. It's multiplied by 10. I multiplied it by 10. Okay, that's it for your blue pages today. Enjoy doing your green pages. Celebrate, have a party over it, and good luck.